This is the steering gear test for the Shipboard Systems 2 project. Second sailing, Emile Richoux. I had an initial one for the MV Green Wave, but while I was on a run, I dropped my phone and stomped on it, so that video no longer exists. This is from the USNS Williams. Very similar process, just on a different ship. So I'm going to voice over in these little quiet segments and go through the steps and what I do in the following video. So the first step would be your phone call to the bridge, which is what you see me doing in this first little segment here. You call them and you make sure that they know that there's going to be a steering gear test happening, and then after you do that, you're going to make sure that both the compass on the bridge and in the engine room read the same heading. In this case, it was 070 degrees. Sure, can I get the heading? So after that, you can see I make a little mistake here on this next step where instead of closing the power relay to keep the circuit closed for the steering gear pump, I accidentally just hit start, so that just causes the pump to start for an instant instead of continuously run. So before that, you're definitely going to want to flip the switch to continuous run, and then you can hit the start button on the port steering gear pump. You're going to turn it port 20 degrees, starboard 20 degrees, and then back to neutral. This just makes sure that the switches get good response. And then you're going to do the exact same thing with the starboard steering gear pump. And of course, you're going to turn the pump off after you're done using it. Now, while this is going down, you're going to be checking generally for anything that could be amiss. This could be leaking hydraulic fluid. It could be grinding gears in the pump. Anything of that nature, you're going to want to make sure to pay attention to. And if you see something, make sure that you stop the pump immediately. Let someone know that there's a big problem in the steering gear room. So usually this is a two-person job, so one person will walk around and make sure that there's no leaking oil while you turn it 20 degrees, starboard 20 degrees, and then back to neutral. And then after that, you can carry on to the next step. So the final step is switching to bridge control. So effectively what this does is it takes the input for the steering gear out of the hands of the engine room and puts it into the hands of the deckies. So this is effectively it'll cause the steering gear to respond to whichever direction the helm is being turned. So call them before this step. We didn't get the video of the phone call, but call them and let them know that they're doing the helm portion of the steering gear test. And then after that, it's basically in their hands. So they're going to turn the helm all the way port, all the way starboard, and you're going to make sure that you get a full range of motion out of the steering gear. After the steering gear has been turned all the way port, all the way starboard, goes back to neutral, you'll turn the pump that's running off, and then you'll switch to the other pump, and effectively they'll do the exact same thing again. This confirms that both pumps work. This is a really good time to walk around and check for any leaks, any problems, anything of that nature. And then once they go back to neutral, they're going to call down and let you know that the test is concluded on their end. You can see here the first engineer, Mike, is picking up the phone and receiving that phone call. And then at the end of that, the test is concluded and you can go back to your regular working schedule. After that call is completed, the steering gear test is basically complete. Steering gear tests are really important before you leave port to make sure that the ship will turn when the deckies want it to turn, because if it doesn't, then that can result in a major accident, such as the one that happened a few years ago in Baltimore with the Francis Scott Key Bridge. While this steering gear test wasn't the one that was done within 12 hours of departure, this was just a regular function check because we were in port for an extended period of time. So basically what we were doing in this video is our once a week test to make sure that just sitting there the steering gear hasn't become damaged in any way.